Hi, we're here to talk about the new normal. There's just so much commotion out there. Who's right, who's wrong? Today, the interesting thing is, when it comes to opinions around COVID, they end up in flared tempers. And we need to really go back and understand behavior a little bit so that we can get clarity on these things without the tempers that are being thrown about. My name is Nagy Behalik. I'm the founder of AccuMatch and Behavior Intelligence. So today's topic is really about the understanding of behaviors so that we can understand what's going on with all of the commotion around the COVID-19 situation. A bit of background, to compare. It's just like we have so many countries around the world in different seasons. We're in summer at the moment. There are, so many variations of weather. There is also even many more variations of people. Okay, our behaviors, our appearances, our opinions. No two people are exactly alike. There are people that might look like you, but their behavior will be different. There's always going to be minor to major differences between individuals around the planet. As we listen to the opinions of others about COVID and the rights and wrongs of what is being done and what we believe to be correct or incorrect, these are really all our own biases. I wonder how many people out there understand that they are filtering and applying their own biases when they receive information. Unfortunately, we're also receiving information often from the wrong places. The media is a micro element of reality. Okay, they only share a very small fraction of what is real out there, the stuff that sells. And unfortunately, negative things are still the focus of media. So as we are right now going into a resurgence of infections around the world and deaths around the world, the behaviors of countries and leaders are being judged as either too much action or too little action. There are people that just want to get back to the way things were, and there are people that are really focused on, staying with the current direction of wearing masks and isolation and so forth. So which is right, which is wrong? A lot of statistics are being leveraged as arguments, and unfortunately sometimes there's excuses for people to do either one. Whether the statistics are used to just show how little impact COVID is having, or statistics are being used to show just how big an impact it's having. There are both arguments going on. We don't realize just how much of that is going on. The unfortunate thing is, he who speaks loudest still wins today. So the vocal ones are really the ones that are having the impact on the decisions or on the influencing our thinking and so forth. The quiet ones rarely are heard. Let's face it, that's why they're the quiet ones. But often they are the more analytical ones with more information that, in fact, should be listened to. I can't believe the amount of verbal bullying that is happening amongst people. Even friends, the opinions are so vocal and so heightened that they're very borderline bullying each other into whichever behavior they perceive to be the important one. So, I felt the need that we need to go back and revisit the whole behavior versus intention. In understanding behaviors and being intelligent about behavior, we also become more intelligent about our judgments and biases and filters that we project onto others as their intentions. For instance, when we talk about governments and leaders, because it's a major organization, we often leap to propaganda. It's very easy to project that intention onto governments and leaders. We don't know for sure, but it's one that a lot of people very quickly go to. Okay, so let's be careful with what information we're using to judge that. I'm not defending them. I'm just making an observation. I'm not that quick to jump to conclusions about some of those things. I need the facts. One of the most basic intentions that we need to understand about individuals, let's leave governments out of this for a moment, is the need for survival. Our brain is programmed as human beings, you can go back all the way to the Ice Age almost, that we are programmed to survive. So the biggest intention that we need to understand when we observe others is people's need to survive. And when that's endangered, we see heightened emotions, we see heightened actions, and so forth. So why is COVID-19 triggering survival instincts, and what's that got to do with it? Is it really survival instincts? And to some extent it is, and I'm just going to share with you 2 or 3 key elements that help understand that. Let's start with extrovert and introvert. Okay, if we look at extroverted people versus introverted ones, the extroverts need interaction with others. It's part of their functioning modality. If they're unable to interact with others, they're effectively unable to function the way they need to. And this is an element of feeling threatened. I can't survive without that interaction. I can't recharge. There's just so much. If I don't see facial expressions, the masks hide that. I need to hug people. All of these things are really part of what they are experiencing, which is becoming a threat, especially with the resurgence of all of these cases and countries shutting down again and closing borders, etc. All of this is threatening for them. The argument we will hear from them is, this is overreacting, we don't need to isolate, we don't need masks, the stats are skewed, the evidence shows that, the deaths from COVID are not as bad as people say compared to car accidents, compared to the flu, etc. This is their argument of what they reach to justify their need to survival. Okay, so the intention behind the behavior. If the behavior is all of these things that we are seeing, what's the intention? And for extroverts, it's very much that survival need. I need to interact with people. I need to see their faces. I need to do these things. Now, if we take a look at the opposite end of the spectrum and talk about introverts, well, introverts, by definition, they do not need people interaction. In fact, they recharge by being alone. So this is less threatening for them, and therefore, the wearing a mask and isolation and all of these things, they may fear more the interaction than the isolation. Okay, so they're quick to comply because it feeds their comfort level. Another interesting aspect is while extroverts are vocal and engaging, introverts are not. Extroverts will tend to be far more emotional with their decision processing than introverts. Introverts will tend to use logic a lot more. Data, analysis, statistics. Okay? There isn't right or wrong, there's just different, and this is where we get conflict. This is where we get misunderstandings and anxieties and tempers flare, right? You can see how these 2 types, and I've only talked about 2 behavior types in a generalized fashion, extrovert and introvert. What does that really look like? We can get into that another time, but these are the neural programs that our brain automatically goes to. These are our unconscious behavior patterns. So why don't we look at a couple of other ones? What if someone is high auditory? Right now I'm using both, in our blog, there's written content, and the video is allowing the auditory people to also have the auditory input. Okay, so some people need that verbal input because their brain processes information by hearing it. Okay, whereas others that are low auditory need to read, for instance, at the opposite end of that scale, in order to process information. So they are visually taking information in and processing it, and they may find auditory input overloaded. So too much conversation, too much information, too many stories, all of these things tend to overload their auditory part of their brain so that they're unable to really clearly process it. They need to read. Again, two different modalities that when these two people meet, they will have some problem in communicating, in finding common ground between them. They'll almost need a translator to work between them. You know, the auditory person will be translated into written reports for the person that needs to read the data, and vice versa. Reading the reports to the auditory person will help through that translation process. Unlikely to happen, and that's why we have these disparities of opinions and disagreements. Becoming intelligent about behavior means understanding ourselves and understanding that other people are different. People are going to be different. When we meet someone with the same modalities as us, we connect with them really quickly. We engage with them. We're leaping off each other's words and quickly, almost like we are reading each other's mind. And we leap to, oh, I like this person, they're just like me, okay? And we forget that the other ones really represent our blind spot. When we spend all that time in the area that we are comfortable with people that are like us, we shut out the opportunity to learn from all the people that are not like us. And this becomes a blind spot, okay? That's why being intelligent about our own behaviors and the behaviors of others allows us to eliminate some of these blind spots, to be more open to other people's behaviors, to other races and other types, etc. It's okay to be different. It's okay to be unique. It's okay to prefer people that are like us. What is not okay is to believe that other people's opinion are wrong just because they are different from ours. Okay. So, next time you observe a behavior that you don't agree with, try to understand their point of view. Try to understand, their survival motivator, the intention behind the behavior. Don't just leap into a conclusion about the behavior. Try to figure it out. Be open to ask questions to discover where they are at versus where you are at. Okay. Judging intentions is really just filtering everything and everybody through your own filters, your own biases, without being open to the fact that there is almost 7 billion people on the planet and there's trillions of variations of behavior. You don't have to understand trillions, you're just going to be open to listen and ask questions. The person that speaks the loudest often speaks the most, and when you are speaking, you're not listening. Okay. So in order to understand, we need to listen twice as much as we speak. Otherwise, we risk misunderstanding. We risk conflict. We risk, if we take this to the workplace, there is arguments, there is conflict, there is all kinds of assumptions about malicious intent and manipulation and all kinds of things projected onto colleagues and team members. This is really a misunderstanding. And becoming intelligent about behavior, you're welcome to visit Acumatch Behavior Intelligence. There is a lot of info there about understanding behavior and being open to different behaviors. Thanks for listening. I hope that you found this valuable. I hope to see you online on one of our Zoom calls or webinars, and perhaps even our training programs. Thanks. My name is Nagi Behalik. I'm the founder at Acumatch Behavior Intelligence.